Hello and welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker. It's springtime. It's time for green teas coming in. Lots of teas are coming in. If they have already been harvested, a lot of times they're starting to get to the warehouses so that they can be ready to be ordered. Today I've got a green tea that they're going to be looking at. So this tea, actually I believe this may be a 2011 tea, but it should give us a clue as to the sourcing abilities of this particular company. So I'm going to go ahead and get out, I've got my water. It's been brought to a boil, an early boil, so it started to rumble, but it's not full boil. And I'm scooping out enough here. I want to cover again, the usual bottom inch to inch and a half base area of my 3-ounce Gaiwan here. Kind of shake that out, make sure that looks right when it's distributed flat across there, and that looks good. I'm going to add my water here. I want to add it just enough. Should be a little bit resting just above the rim of the lid to kind of lock the seal there, create a seal so that air doesn't kind of cause any discoloration there. That looks good, just right. And let that steep for just a moment and talk about this tea, kind of introduce it. This is from Teavivre. This is their BiLuoChun. It's a Chinese green tea from the Dongting mountain area of Jiangsu province in China. That is the traditional origin or home of BiLuoChun. And this particular is which is offering from Teavivre. Sample size of 14 grams, currently available for $2. There's an indication that currently, right as of recording this and posting, this has a 20%, I believe it's a 20% discount. So that to me could be an indication that this is some of last year's tea. They're moving it out of the way because they're getting ready for this 2012 harvest to come in. So if this is a good tea, this might be a good time also to be considering, is this a good deal on a tea? Especially if this is a tea that you're going to be able to drink quickly before it... teas can generally last for a couple of years, but you don't want to hang on to it for too long either. So I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about this tea. I have a sample pack here. This is This is often the size of package that other samples have been sent, say in other packaging. This is the usual, more common packaging of Teavivre, but in this particular case, I have a sample size here. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a smell. Talk about this dry leaf. Nice, rich, healthy green tea smells. It does have the lighter, sweeter, sweet green pea combined with a little bit of there's a spinachy kind of note there too. Rich. Now, depending on how a BiLuoChun is processed, it can have more toasty notes. It can get a little bit more of a light, nutty type of note. This one is very low in those, so it indicates that there has been less heat applied to these. Looking at these leaves and pulling them out, things that I notice also, this one is a brighter green color than several of the other BiLuoChuns that I've looked at in the past. This one does look greener, like I said, like less heat has been applied to dull or toast those type of leaves. I also note these are very, there's a lot of silvery white needle-like components to this, and it's close to 40 to 50% of the proportion here is that white silver needle type look to it. A lot of these are fuzzy, so these are small. They are curly, wrapped kind of in a curly Q type. I mean, they're squiggly. They're not straight. They're not crumpled or wadded into paper ball type shapes either. And they are, the greens that are there, like I said, they are a fairly dark, rich, heavy green, moving a little bit more towards a lightish brown type of color there, but overall still quite a bit more of a vibrant green color in relation to others that I have looked at. So I'm going to go ahead and return that into the package here and get ready to talk a little bit about this wet leaf. And to do that, I'm going to have to pour here. So I'm going to get my gaiwan over to the side, get my pitcher out, angle my lid like so, hold it with my index finger, and pour. Looks good. Oftentimes, or several times, I have seen BiLuoChun served straight in a tall glass, or straight in a pitcher. Sometimes even, in order to reduce the amount of heat that's put on the leaves. And I've seen this done with some dragon wells also. Again, picture a tall, straight glass. Add your hot water first. Sprinkle your leaves onto the top. So that way the heat can, the leaves don't get overcooked. Oftentimes with the BiLuoChun, instructions will say things like use a lower temperature. Now I haven't done that in this particular case because I try to kind of create an even playing field. I try to put every tea through a very same or very similar type of experience to show what happens to them. Generally, when you steep a tea at the same type of temperatures, you reveal both the strengths and weaknesses of a tea more fairly, more thoroughly. So I'm going to go ahead here and talk about this wet leaf. Now I'm noticing some kind of lima bean or beanie type notes, and that often comes out with a I get it especially with Jiangsu province, neighboring Zhejiang province, that area, when the teas are processed or fired and processed in this way. It comes off with a little bit of a cooked bean type of smell. This one is gentler. It's lighter. It's not getting into a heavier, darker, almost kind of a toastier type aroma that, like I said, those that have been heated more, toasted, roasted more may exhibit. So this one is still having lighter components to it, greener components to it. Pulling out a few of these leaves and kind of looking at them. Some of these are broken, and some of them have somewhat unfurled. I want to kind of clear those out of the way to try to get better examples of what's in here. Here's an example of one of those, what was likely a needle, a few little bits from other leaves stuck to it, but this one is fairly flat. It has loosened up quite a bit. You can actually kind of tease it, pull it apart by hand. I want to kind of set that there, kind of press it out so the full shape can be shown. It was a young, tender leaf. You have some larger leaves. This one looks like it was had opened and become a leaf, and it's a little bit older. This one you will see it is 1.5 inches to 2 inches in length. So put that there. The tip of it has broken off. So far, I'm not seeing a lot of bruising or damage that it would indicate, or that could be evidenced by little red rust spots, little oxidation that took place in the bruising of a leaf. There's another part of a needle there. Here's another very small, tender leaf. It does, on the very tip of it, has a little bit of that kind of reddish tinge that I alluded to just then. Little bits here that I'm going to try to get out of the way. One more, another kind of tip there, another needly-like leaf that has reached a good size, but looks like it hasn't fully unfurled as some of its more larger leaves may have done. Now, I'm going to move on now and talk about the liquor here. I've already poured some into my cup, but there's still plenty here to kind of look at. Talk about together. It's got a nice thick yellowish, moving over towards a little bit of a yellowish green type of color. It's got a tinge of the greenness there to it, but it's also got a bit of a heavier, thicker, darker yellow color there also. I should also kind of note here, the aroma, it's moved away from, it's not the initial dry leaf smell of that kind of pea and spinach, although there's hints of it there. There's still a tinge of something that's kind of a sweet pea type of aroma, and that is complemented with this kind of sweet, fresh boiled corn type of smell, yellow corn. So there's a nice combination of kind of vegetable sweetness there, a little bit of that kind of starchy sweetness with the corn that I just mentioned. But I'm going to go ahead now, give this a taste. The other put-off with a lot of the BiLuoChuns I've tasted in the past has been the amount of astringency. And by steeping this one similarly to the way that I steep those, it does give me a better comparison that this one is significantly less astringent, significantly less bitter than those others that were treated in the same way, with the same water temperatures, similar steep times, that type of thing. Plenty of that sweetness, that boiled corn. In Asia, I have experienced where after corn on the cob, say, is boiled, people will drink the soup that results from that. They will drink the water that's been boiled in, because it does have a nice sweet kind of corn taste. Maybe add a little bit of sweetener to that. This one brings off kind of the water from boiled corn on the cob. There is that kind of corn type of sweetness there, so that's pleasant. It's nice. Not only does that hit on the front, but in the aftertaste, it's gentle. But think of a green bean, a very sweet, rich, summer fresh green bean, lightly steamed, so that it retains that sweetness. It doesn't have an overcooked, mushy type of smell and taste to it. This one is, again, fresh, green, straight out of the garden type of smells. And that's in the aftertaste. It doesn't stay long. A lot of green teas don't have the most robust aftertaste. This one has some. It lasts relatively longer than other BiLuoChuns, significantly longer even than other BiLuoChuns, but not nowhere in the ballpark of some other types of teas like oolongs and others that have fuller aftertaste. Nice sweetness there. Now, a lot of texture, but not rough or harsh either. I mean, it's compared to other BiLuoChuns, it's probably got as much texture as you can expect to find in BiLuoChuns. So, looking at this tea as a whole, good spectrum of tastes and aromas, very low astringency, bitterness, almost none to really comment on, none to really pick apart or fuss over. An aftertaste that has some sweetness to it as well. So overall, I'm going to have to give this tea a fairly high score. This is one of the better BiLuoChuns that I've come across in a while. So I'm going to give this tea a 91. Hope you enjoy it. I hope this gives you, an indicator of some of the deals you can get. It may come along later in a season, but also I hope this indicates what the sourcing abilities, the skills that Teavivre has in finding new teas, and hopefully we'll see that in the 2012 teas as well. So come back to Walker Tea Review to find out about this and other new teas.